on to the Workforce Professionals Pathway. So if you have any questions, you can refer back to it later as well. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we have our webinar that covers the Illinois WorkNet coordinator and manager tools that are available. My name is Natasha Telker, and I'm located in the Springfield office as part of the Illinois WorkNet team. And we also have Juana Amarita that is with us today, and she's located in Chicago, and she will be answering some of the chat questions. So if you have any questions during the webinar, go ahead and add them into the chat pod. Today, what we are going to do is cover, as I mentioned before, we're going to cover the tools that are primarily for Illinois WorkNet coordinators and managers. But I did invite those that are what we call org admins as well, because I know there's been a lot of changes out there in the field, and I want to make sure that everybody has the information as an Illinois WorkNet coordinator, or you're going to be stepping in that role for someone who's no longer with your organization, then I want to make sure that you're aware of the tools that are available and how you can access that information. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and take a look at site management. Site management is an important part of the Workforce Professionals Pathway. It's what I like to call like the backbone, because really all of the workforce professional accounts, the different tools, the access to the customers, access to customer groups, reporting, all that kind of information is available, and it's linked, and you're provided access to those different levels of information based on your the organization that you're associated with and the role that you're given. So it's really important that your site information is correct within site management. We have a tool that we'll take a look at in just a little bit that's called customer groups, and the customer groups allow you to send messages to your customers. Contact information comes from your WorkNet account and your and the site that you're associated with. So we want to make sure that you're associated with the correct site, because when a person tries to contact you, we want to make sure they have the correct contact information. There are a couple of different ways that a site can be added to Illinois WorkNet. It's available on the Workforce Professionals Pathway, and I'll show you exactly where whenever we provide the demonstration portion of the webinar. But to start out with, all they have to do is log into or go to the Illinois WorkNet page, and there's an area that has the options for them to log in, to either set up an account if their site is already available, and also a place where they can not, then they have a couple of options. With option one, if they are new, then they can just simply follow the wizard approach for option one, and it'll walk them through the process of, first of all, setting up their Workforce Professionals account, and then it will walk them through gathering all the information that's needed for putting their information into site management. And then once they have completed that information, then the WorkNet staff is notified, and we review the information to make sure it's a legitimate request. And once we verified the information and it's approved, then they will be added to site management, and their account will automatically be approved, and they'll be given what we call an organization administration role, since they are the person who requested the information. Basically what that means is they will have the ability to update the site are a workforce professional and you are located in your northern office, but you also, now you need to add your southern office, then what you can do is, since you already have an Illinois WorkNet account, then you can just simply use option 2 and it'll take you directly to the wizard. And you can enter in your second office information. And I see that there is some conversation in the chat pod about the sound that is cutting out. And what you can do is, if you'd like to, for those that you're having trouble, you can call into the conference call number, and that will, there's no password or anything. You can just call in to that number. Okay, so basically this is the process. An organization submits their information. They set up their contact information for the person information, and just confirm, is this, you really want to submit your request. Once they do that, then we're notified, and if they're approved, they're added into site management. If they're denied, then the site is removed, but then they're also sent an automatic notice. You can fill out the reason. You know, in some cases it may be, well, this is a duplicate account, or, you know, this is not an appropriate, you know, account, or something like that. You know, the difference with option 2 is you already have an Illinois WorkNet account, and you submit the information for the organization using the wizard. Same process, automatic email, and once it's submitted, then you can approve it or deny it. Okay. Now, within site management, the other option is option 3. And if you're already okay, let me clarify. Cindy had asked if we have 2 WorkNet sites, then we can basically, she's asking if her WorkNet account can be associated with both of those. And no, that's not. You can, your account can only be associated with one Illinois WorkNet site at this time. But what I was saying is, you know, you have different locations, and maybe you have a new office that's opening. Since you already have an Illinois WorkNet account, Cindy, you could go in and use the wizard to go ahead and complete adding that site, or you could use option 3, which is going to the site admin section and selecting whether it's an individual or a business location, and then adding that into site management directly. Okay, but good question. I'm glad you mentioned that. Make sure we're clear. Whether it's an individual or business. If for sites that are an individual, you select as an individual, what that means is that you're going to put a site into Illinois WorkNet that is meant for serving individuals, like at a resource room, maybe it's at a school, maybe it's a faith-based organization, but the intent is to provide resources for individuals as opposed to businesses. And so whenever they're added into the site, you can use the site wizard, and depending on how you answer the questions, the system will automatically know if it's what we call an access site that's open to the public. If it's an access site, which means it has computers that your customers can use to access the internet, to access Illinois WorkNet, and it's open to the general public, those are put in our site, and our Find a Location Near You will pull that information so that when a customer site that is an access site that's not open to the general public, what that means is you're still a partner site, but since you say you're not open, you know, they can't just go in at any time of the day. maybe it's a DHS office, and maybe they don't have a computer lab that's available to the general public, but yet they still serve the same customers, and they can share the information that they know about within WorkNet to provide additional resources. So what that means is that those would be called dissemination sites, and those would not show up in that search feature either, but yet they're all Illinois WorkNet partners, and we need to communicate with them. Then we also have our business sites. The business sites are for the business service teams. So if you have management area under site admin, then you'll see that we do have instructions and guidance available, so you don't have to memorize everything that I'm saying right this moment, because we do have information available to you. But just to clarify, whenever you'll see a listing of all your sites, and our very top site is basically a parent organization, or basically a placeholder. It's a tool, it's a site that has all of your locations for your LWIA, and that way we can organize the information by LWIA. Then you'll see your listing of sites that you can sort, and you'll see that they're the different sources. So we also have, so for sites that have a site that says WorkNet, that means that either you've entered it or they've submitted their own information. But we do have another option for getting sites into site management, and that is whenever we are synced to IWDS. IWDS, and you can easily tell which locations those are because it has IWDS in the source. So basically, if it's WorkNet, somebody else has entered it. You've entered it or somebody else. If it's IWDS, it's coming directly from IWDS, and some of those fields are locked because IWDS is the controlling database, and so you'll need to have update the information through IWDS. That's a lot of information, but really, once you get into it and you start using it, it's pretty easy. Again, the only option that is automatically updated is option 4, and that's the sites that are coming from IWDS. Okay, so now that you have all of your sites in to WorkNet, one of the things that we need to do is make sure that if you're a partner site, that you are set up correctly. So what that means is that whenever you go into Illinois WorkNet on your Workforce Professionals pathway, we have a couple for setting up a dissemination site, which means using marketing materials, different resources that they can use to help direct their customers to Illinois WorkNet. And then we have information for access sites, and we have different options. You can set up they can set up their computers with a site-specific URL that they can use, and you can use to help track the usage. They also have an option there to give you instructions on how to add an icon to your desktop. And then we also have instructions that if maybe it's a location where they can't use it and set Illinois WorkNet as their home page, but they can use a desktop icon, or maybe they have their website as their home page, what they can do is use the Link to Us link. And we have the information on how to do that and the graphics that are available. They can add a link to us to Illinois WorkNet on their own web page. So that's an option that's available. So we have the instructions here, and then if they would like to set up Illinois WorkNet as their home page, we have, again, another wizard tool, and that will automatically set up their location with their own site-specific URL. Okay. So we have, again, lots of resources that are available, and as a new partner, we want to make sure that they understand that, that there's different types of resources that are available, and mainly on their personalized resources are on their dashboard. So in the what role they're in. Those personalized tools will be available on the left-hand navigation. Let's say, if they are a content manager, they've completed a content management course, then they can have direct access to their content management, their online courses, and any other types of specific tools that we have available. We also have a link here if you want to request more tools, and it gives you directions on how to request access to additional tools, because we don't want to bombard you with a whole bunch of tools, but yet we want to let you know that they're available and you can access them. We also have a resources page. Now on our resources page, we have a whole bunch of resources, and so we have tried to break it down by in different categories. There's just a lot of information that's available here. Then we also have our marketing page. And our marketing page, and the way you access the marketing page, if you haven't done so already, is you just simply click on marketing. And once you agree to what we call a click wrap, or agree to the use and terms of the marketing materials, then you'll automatically have access to it. So all Illinois WorkNet partners have access to our marketing materials. And the intent of the marketing materials is to provide a consistent message across the state with regards to Illinois WorkNet and the information that's available. And we want a consistent look and feel for the brand. Also, we provided customizable marketing materials so that you can enter your own contact information, enter your own quotes, so you can customize it for your local area. But you can also customize it with for your different audiences. We have the different photos that are available and icons. So you can either integrate some of these marketing pieces into your existing marketing materials, whether it's the icons or some photos, but then you can also use them to customize the existing marketing materials that we have available for you as well. Now, within site management, okay, so we talked about site management. We talked about adding new partners and getting them set up and making sure that they understand the resources that are available, so that can help them with using Illinois WorkNet and directing people to Illinois WorkNet using marketing materials and so forth. Now we're moving down to user management. Now we know that people come and go, and people change roles within an organization, or they may even switch to a different organization. So we have a tool here that's called user management, and you can, if you're an OWIA coordinator or OWIA manager, you can go into, I have to double check on the org admin. You might be able to do it just for your location. I needed to verify that though, but you can use user management. So organization level for just your organization, then you should be able to manage your workforce professional accounts that are associated with your site. So basically, you just click on user management. You select the organization from the drop-down menu. If you have the ability, or if you can select your site, that's what I meant. You can select active or inactive, because with the user management, you can delete, or what we call it delete, but it's really inactivating a workforce professional account. Or if you have a person, maybe they've been out, but now they were rehired, you can go ahead and reactivate their account instead of setting up a new account. So you can you'll see their site. So maybe they signed up, when they requested their account, they signed up and they were in the Marion office, but really they should have been in the Coin office or something like that. As a OWIA coordinator, OWIA manager, you can change their location, their organization site. So you can put them with the right location. They can you reset their password, but that is available. You can do that. And you can also select their user role. Now, you'll see a lot more user roles than whenever this is a screen capture off of my page. So we have all different types of user roles, and basically probably most people only need public viewer. You might have a person that you might want to make an organization administrator because that gives them the ability to update the site management, complete reports and so forth. We have LWIA manager, LWIA coordinator. They basically have access to the entire LWIA and managing and updating information within Online WorkNet for their entire LWIA. But as I mentioned before, most people only need a public viewer access. So if you have a person that, as part of your exit interview, then maybe you have a person that's leaving your organization, as part of your exit interview, management, because we don't want them to have, access to information about specific customers or the other information if they're not an active, if they're not currently working for your organization. Now, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of information within Online WorkNet, and one of the tools that we have available for you is the new Online WorkNet online course. Some of you have already completed the previous, what we call Certified Online WorkNet Advisor online course, and now we have a new updated version, and Mike Cook will be offering that webinar, and I highly, highly suggest that you register online for that webinar, and you can do that just by clicking on this link, and he'll go over the overview of the entire course and answer any of your questions. But the idea that with this is it's a modular, scenario-based course. So as we add more that we'll be working on, in addition to the existing modules, is preparing individuals for using the assessments. Okay. Now, as an org, now we're moving down the line here to the quarterly reports. As either a coordinator, a manager, or an organization administrator, you have access to quarterly reports. And we do have information here in this bubble for instructions and resources on using the quarterly reports. But we try to make the quarterly reports as simple as possible. Basically, it's just radio buttons answering yes or no. If you are with a WIA-funded site, those quarterly reports, and you're an access site, those quarterly reports are required. If you're with a non-WIA-funded site, those quarterly reports are not required unless your WIA requests you to complete them as part of your partnership agreement. With the quarterly reports that are required, they're broken down into minutes before you'll be able to select the moderate or the extensive. And there's 6 sections. Okay. And then we also have the ability, or you have the tools available to you for activity reporting. So for activity reporting, depending on your role and what you have access to, you can pull either your quarterly report data, you can look at the top 10 pages that are viewed, you can look at the number of new registrations that you have for your WIA, you can look at your total sessions. So there's different types of activity reports that you can use, and a lot of people use these for like board meetings or communicating how Online WorkNet is used in their local workforce investment area. And as I mentioned before, the marketing materials, we do have, one thing I want to point out is graphic guidelines. So as part of that user, your agreement, agreeing to use the use and terms, we want to make sure that everybody's following the graphic guidelines. whether it's flyers or other print materials. We have different premiums that are available that you can use as well, and presentation materials. Okay. So we've gone through most of the information that's on, or all the information that's on site administration with the quarterly reports and site management, user management, and so forth. One of the things that we have been using and promoting quite a bit lately, we have been using the customer groups. And the customer group, basically, you are the workforce professional. You can have multiple customer groups. And people that are in your customer groups, you'll be able to view their interest surveys, work readiness activities, assessment results, and you'll be able to communicate with them by sending them emails or account messages through the use of your customer group. So it's a pretty nifty tool. It's very useful. One of the things that we have added is that you can have we have an area that's automatically, or let me take a step back here. If you do not have access or you're not a case manager in IWDS, you just use our invitation process and you invite people to join your customer groups, and the customers opt in to be part of your customer group. If you are in IWDS, then your customers are automatically put into customer groups, so you don't have to search for them to add them to customer groups. You don't have to add them. They're automatically added to your customer group already for you. So whatever you have access to in IWDS, then you have access to those customers in Illinois WorkNet. So the WorkNet resources, you have access to viewing their resources. And you get to this, it's on your dashboard over on the left-hand nav. You have your customer groups. And we have a couple generations of customer groups. This is our new customer groups, and so what we're going to be doing is click to view your customer groups. If you're in IWDS, this actual link right here will pull the customers that are associated, or if you're identified as a case manager, then you'll be able to see them. If you're not in IWDS, then you view your personal groups. And you guys are the first to know. It hasn't been tested yet, so I need to go through finishing up the testing. But we are just, my programmers have just finished up the ability to add subgroups. So I'll be testing that today and then sending out a notice to everyone that your subgroups are available. So that's a new feature that we'll be adding. You're the first to know. We also have the ability to send, as I mentioned before, custom emails to your customer groups. Or a message only, or you can send it to both. And when I say messages, what that will do is send a message to their Illinois WorkNet account. So whenever they log into their Illinois WorkNet account, they'll see a great big green box at the top that says you have messages, basically. And so they can click on that and view their account messages. Basically, you just put in a title and your text and submit it, and it will go to whoever the group is that you select to send the message to. Then we also have a tab for instructions. So again, you don't have to remember all this off the top of your head. We have instructions available, and as we move forward, I'm trying to add just not only instructions, but little short demos, so you don't have to watch an hour-long webinar. You can just see the short demo for each of those pieces and parts. Format. So whenever you see your customer, you'll see their account information. We do have a couple ways that, for example, we have some people that have forgotten their password or their username, and they need to recover their Online WorkNet account. We definitely don't want them to set up another Online WorkNet account because then they lose all their personal information, the stuff that they've already done. And so what they can do is we encourage them to use the forgot password. If some of your people have been set up through IWDS and their email account was not correct, or for some reason the person did not include their email account, then you can go into the customer group and you can see their username, their date of birth, and the answer to their secret question. And those are the 3 pieces of information that they will need to recover a password. So it's much more convenient for you. Then you also have their contact information, and then you have a link to whether it's the customer summary page, which will show if they were maybe in the last year's youth program, and you can see their scores, their activities. If they have previous program information, that's in their customer summary. If they don't, it's just simply under My Activities, and you can see their activity results, responses, and their pre and post assessment results. We also have an employer evaluation that is completed. It was developed from with a Summer Youth Employment Program, and it was available so that if your student or your customer has worksite experience, then it's an evaluation form that an employer can complete, and you can enter that information. And the observational assessment was developed by the Chicago Workforce Investment Council, and they've had a lot of really good feedback on that assessment. And that assessment is completed by an instructor, or it's meant to be over time so that you can provide an initial feedback and they have an opportunity to change their behavior and their actions so that they can improve to become work and college ready. And then we also have the skills and interest profilers that are available. So as part of a suitability step, they could take a look at the interest profilers and use that as part of their activities to explore different types of careers and training programs. And then we are currently working on the NCTI Pre Assessment as well, and information. Of updating that pre-assessment to include additional questions that will help you with helping prepare your customers in order to complete, to do better on the observational assessment and any of the other type of work readiness assessments that we can offer through Illinois WorkNet. So we have the optional pre-assessment. We have different activities that they can complete. There are online activities that they can save the responses, and you as a workforce professional can view those responses. And then we have a post-assessment as well. And one of the nice things about the activities is that they can be printed off and translated into other languages using our translator, inline translator, or you can make them larger and so forth for accessibility reasons. So those, again, are available through Illinois WorkNet. As I mentioned before, we have the skills and interest profilers, and we've also updated the computer skills section. So if you have anyone that is new to by simply starting out with just using the keyboard. So we have anywhere from really early on basics, I don't know anything about a computer, all the way through the technical professional resources for IT. Now, as I mentioned before, with the customer groups and the different types of assessments that we offer, we have all these different types of assessments that are available through Illinois WorkNet. And you may be saying, well, that's great, but I'm just so busy, I don't even know how I would fit this all in. So what we did is on the resources page under case management, we have a process flow. And it's not to say that you have to do this. This is just a sample of what it could look like for your area. So it identifies the different steps in the process with the WIA continuum of services. And for each of these, you can just click on the area of the process flow, and it'll take you to the resources and information. And for accessibility reasons, we also have a text version that's available. As a result of updating our added to WorkNet, we needed a way to provide information to help you and help your customers prepare and get a better understanding of the information that's expected of a work-ready college-ready person. So we took a look at national and state standards and compiled them into common categories that we could, based on the assessment results, we could give them direction back. Maybe they need to improve on their understanding of the big picture. So based on their assessment results, we can direct them back to this section of Illinois WorkNet. So it's a skills wheel, and it's a little bit different than how we normally present information, because for one, there's just a lot of information, and we know that people like interactive, more graphics. So each of these areas, if you haven't seen it already, they have a graphic for each of the areas, walks them through a scenario. We have the listing of skills and additional resources, and then next steps. And all this is available. A lot, and if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat pod over to the left. I'm going to go ahead and share my computer screen, but I'm just going to keep moving forward unless I see a question come up. Okay, let me go ahead and let me go to a different screen here real quick. Okay. So for starters, as I mentioned before, let me zoom in here a little bit so it's easier for you to see. Might kind of make things a little wacky a little bit, but you'll be able to see it better. Also, if you're new to our webinars, what you can do is at the top of this put it back to the size it is currently. So I've gone to Illinois WorkNet, clicked on Workforce Professionals Pathway, and I can either choose to log in or set up my Illinois WorkNet account or become a partner. So if you have people that are new, when it says click to become a partner, it gives you a little bit of information about becoming a partner. Excuse me. If you, the first step is to check to see if you're already a partner site, and if you're not already a partner site, then you go to step 2, and creating a workforce professional account. Okay, but let's just assume that I already have a WorkNet account, which I do. And so what I'm going to do is go to my Workforce Professional account. It's going to ask me to log in. Let me do that. When I log in, then it takes me directly to the wizard. So I can just simply enter in the information for this location, and it's just based on the questions, but how I answer the questions, it'll display the next set of appropriate questions. So that's basically how a person can submit their request. Dashboard. And this will be changing over time. We do want to use more of a tab approach, and so the look and feel will change, but the content will still all be available. You have your different resources over here on the left-hand side. And if you would like to request more tools, or at least to see what's available, you can click on Request More Tools, and then it gives you instructions on how to request those specific tools. WorkNet partner, or you have an Illinois WorkNet account, then you'll automatically be pre-registered for the online course. And those that have been around for a while should be pretty happy about this because they don't have to register everybody. The person is automatically registered whenever they set up an Illinois WorkNet account. And so that'll be available up here. And again, we recommend that you attend Mike Cook's webinar. If I've completed the content management online course, then you'll see your single sign-on to content management. And when I say content management, that means that I can add local promos, update news and events, your resource room, and we have a wizard approach, again, for setting up Illinois WorkNet as your Illinois WorkNet, as your homepage for your computer. So that uses a wizard approach as well. Okay. So we have lots of information on this page. Also, if you just want a quick overview, we have the different career areas or different basic areas for the partners. So even a resource room staff person, they jump over to site admin for right now. With site admin, for site management, again, that's where once a person has completed the request to become a partner, then they'll automatically be added to your listing. So let me just go ahead and you'll see a few more on here just because I'm at the state level, but you'll see the sites for your area. And the information by clicking on those links. So if I just want to see my IWDS site, I click on Source, and I can see this is my IWDS site, so I'm going to click on Edit. Now remember, the sites that come from IWDS, they have specific areas that are locked down because IWDS is the controlling database. And so, for example, I can't change the name, I can't change the app. Can't change, or you can't change. What we have to do is follow BCO policy 06PL24 and follow that policy, and they will submit the changes and make them in IWDS. And then every night the system is synced, and those changes will be available the next day. What you do have control over is the other information. So if you have your primary contacts, if you want to change out the different types of resources that are available, you can update that information through Illinois WorkNet. You'll receive an email. Most of the time we review them, but if you would like to review them before we get to them, then you're welcome to do that. You'll be asked to review the information, and then you can approve it at that time. So if it's approved, you just select Approve and save it, and it'll be added to your Illinois WorkNet as a site. that are associated, the workforce professionals account, I should say. You have workforce professional accounts associated with that organization. We'll just go ahead and go to one of the OEOs. And you can either search for a person for your entire OEA. If you're an OEA coordinator, OEA manager, you can enter a few letters of the last name or first name and show the people that meet that search criteria if you're not sure which organization that they're with, or you can select the organization and narrow down your search that way. Once they're in there, then you can go ahead where you're not really deleting them from the entire system. Really what you're doing is making them inactive. So we want to make sure that we keep all of our users and our site information up to date. We have the activity reporting that you can take a look at. And for each of these areas, if you have any questions, we have the show hide. So whenever we have some additional resources or instructions, those are available under where it says click here for instruction and quick links. We use those in accordion so you don't have to scroll down so far to find the tools that you're looking for. So again, these are the different types of tools. To another area. So for the quarterly report, I'm logged in with one of the LWIAs, and so what you'll see is we have our LWIA-wide quarterly report, and that's just 2 sections, really short, so that should be completed by the LWIA coordinator or LWIA manager. And then for each of your locations, you'll see a line, a column here that says if it's required or not. WIA funded access sites are required to complete the quarterly report. You can click on a section, complete sections 1 through 6, and whenever it's just a simple radio buttons that you just say either yes or no, and once you complete all the yes for minimum, so that's your quarterly report. Under resources, as I mentioned before, we have all different types of resources that are available. So we have a step-by-step guide that just kind of introduces you to the tools and information that you would need to know as a workforce professional. Kind of gives you an overview of some of the information. But then over on the left-hand side is where we really have the details of what to find. So one of our newest areas is the case management section. And with the case management, it's been aligned to the WIA Continuum of Services. So as we move forward as well, and resources as well. For those of you that are relatively new, we also have a section called Professional Development. And in the Professional Development section, we have some online tools, but then we have a boatload of webinars. So if you're interested in a particular topic, and for example, today's webinar will be put into the archived Illinois WorkNet webinars. Okay. Then let me go over to our marketing materials. Just to show you a quick example of our marketing materials. Resources for setting up a booth if you have a career fair. We also have, as I mentioned before, graphics guidelines. One of the tools or the fonts that we use with the Illinois WorkNet materials, it's called Futura. And so we have a place where you can download that material. I'm sorry, not the material, the font. And then you can also download the Illinois WorkNet logos and use those in your materials as well. Then we also have examples of, let's go for information technology. We have different Now I'm going to go back because one of the other things that we covered was our customer group. And so back on my dashboard, I'm going to click on customer groups. And for the customer groups, as it's loading, I have the option. I can use my, if I was, this account is not synced with IWDS, but if it was, then you would see a link up here so I could look at all the people I have access to, and IWDS would be available through that link. I can look whether it's a universal customer, youth, adult, so forth. And then it's also sorted out by your customers and your exited use the invitation process. And so what I like to do is use the group invitation. When I click on group invitation, and so I have a whole group of people with me, and I think it's just easier this way. You can put, I'm just going to put test 333. And you would put, obviously, meaningful information in here. But I'm just using this as an example. I can go ahead and set up my group invitation. And so it was as easy as that. And I have my big green notification up here that, or I can just display it up on the screen and say, okay, everyone, I need you to go to almyworknet.com/group invite. And whenever I go there, then I'll be be asked to log into my account and then enter my test code and accept the invitation, and they're automatically added into LMI into your customer group. So that's the customer group invite. Okay. And so once I have my people in my customer group, I'll go back to my customer group. Oh, I'm sorry. See that. People or someone lost sound, then go ahead and just type in the chat pod and I can repeat that information. But basically you set up it's really easy to set up a customer group invite, and once they have accepted, they're automatically placed into your customer group. And once they're in your customer group, then you can look at their if they have already completed some activities, or let me zoom in a little bit. So you can see for their first activity that they have listed, so list your top 3 interest profiler types, and this person has artistic, realistic, and social. They're going to take a look at becoming a nurse, so I can take a look at that information. Okay, let me go back. And the employer evaluation, it's just simply, again, radio buttons. I need to go in and select my employer and complete that worksite evaluation. Oops, let me see my link in here. What you need to do is, at this point in time, the employer is supposed to complete the evaluation, but it's not. But what you'll have to do is send them either a Word document or have them fill out a paper copy of the worksite evaluation, and that's available. And then they would send it back to you, and you enter the information. Now, what we are as a enhancement in the future is to allow the employers to complete that online. The observational assessment. it just simply is, again, radio buttons. And so if you click on each of these fundamentals, or you know, it says work ethic, problem solving, for each of these, each time you click on these, it displays the rubric. So if I go to attitude, let me close some of these up. For attitude, it gives an explanation of if it's below the standard or the expectation, this is what it means, a definition for meeting the expectation, and a definition for exceeding the expectation. So once I have completed all those, then I can take a look at the final results, which I have some here. To what that level, what that rating means. And also what we've added as of today is where you click on each of these where it says learn more. And so if I see a person that needs to improve upon, let's say, I don't know, active listening, then I can click on the link and it'll take me to that page in LMI WorkNet for the resources to help them with learning more about active listening so they can improve that skill. They can click on that link and restore their scores, and they can view the results of their interest profilers. So that is an overview, and I'm running out of time gabbing here. So what I'm going to do is let me stop sharing. I'm going to go to our last page. And again, if you have any questions or comments, please enter them into the chat pod. I did see something, so I'm going to bring up the chat pod from the other page. But if you could go ahead and let me make sure I have the polls open for you. You can go ahead and start opening or answering the polling questions because I want to make sure everybody is on the same page. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chat pod. What am I missing? Go over here, chat. Okay, so for the other, so for the top question, can partners enter submit their own information? Yes, that's true. What are the options to set up a computer? All of the above, that's true. I see we have some more people that are still answering the last question. Ask those questions. Let me put this pod up here so I can double check. Okay. Okay. Oh, my results got deleted. Okay. Looks like some of the results got deleted from the lower pod. But I'll go ahead and, for what says poll 15, the user management tool will allow you to do what? The user poll will allow you to do all of the top 4 if you're an LWIA manager, LWIA coordinator, it will only allow you to move a person that's within your LWIA to another organization. If you have a person that needs to move, maybe, I don't know, they worked in LWIA 23 and they're moved and now they're going to work for LWIA 21, you just let me know or contact info@, and we can update their organization. So, okay. The other one is customizable marketing materials are available to all Illinois WorkNet partners. That is true. And the last one is kind of a trick question. Only workforce professionals only workforce professionals that have IWDS accounts, only those people can automatically access IWDS customers through customer groups. But actually, any workforce professional that's an approved Illinois workforce professional, has an approved Illinois WorkNet professional account, anybody can create an invitation and invite someone into their customer group. Okay. Okay, and if you would like me to send, I usually send a thank you out for everyone that attended the webinar. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, I'll be on here for just a few more minutes. So if you have any questions, please feel free, to enter them in. Other than that, thank you everyone for joining us. Just a quick follow-up, if you do have any questions, you can email me. But it's even better to send your questions to info@. If you have any questions, also on the WorkNet page, we have the Need Assistance box there, so you can click on that if you